welcome to the Molly Quest channel. So today I'm going to be giving you a technique, a traditional technique of how to gather fabric. This is a technique that I teach to my students. There are many different gathering feet and tools that you can buy on the high street or haberdashery stores, sewing machine shops and things like that. But I always like to use this nice traditional method because it allows you to have more control of how your gathers actually set on your project. So first things first, what I do is I do 2 rows of stitching. This second row here comes in about 1 centimetre, simply because your seam allowance will be 1.5 when you're sewing it on a garment. So at least you'll have 5 millimeters to play around with, so that when you finish sewing your project you won't see this row of stitching here. Okay. First I do, as I start the line of stitching, I always do a back tack, okay, which allows the threads to lock at this side. And on the other side, I've got my threads, all 4 of my threads. For the demonstration today, I've got the grey threads. Those are my bobbin threads, and the red threads are my top threads, and you'll see why I've done those 2 colours, just to show you the difference today. So you lock one side of stitching and the other side you leave the tails. Okay, now some people always say I don't like using this method simply because my threads always break and then I've got to start all over again. The reason why your threads always break is because people always just grab all 4 threads and then they start pulling and then they wonder why it breaks. The proper way to do it is to make sure you either pull the 2 top threads or your 2 bobbin threads. Okay, I always use my 2 top threads. Not too sure why. I think that was the way I was taught many moons ago. Okay, so then what you start doing, you hold on to the 2 top threads and you start to pull the fabric. Okay, don't let the threads get too long. I start to wind these round my finger. Okay, and just keep on going. Take your time, don't get too rough with it. Okay, and then you start gathering up to the requirement of your project. Don't let the threads get too long. Keep winding them around your finger. Okay, once you've gathered it up to the requirement of your project, you then get a pin. Okay, you then get a pin, and then you take the top threads that you used to pull and you wind them around the pin, either in a figure 8 or completely round, completely up to you, but do about 3 or 4 5 times or so. All right, and here you've got your gathering. Now what you just do is now you just regulate where you want the gathers to be, and once you've kind of like regulated it, put it flat onto a surface, hold the gathered edge, and then just start to regulate that gathering. Oops, my pin's fallen out. That wasn't supposed to happen. But just make sure your pin stays in. Okay, once you've done that, then you go back to a normal stitch and you stitch through the middle of these 2 rows of stitching. Don't forget to double tack here and double tack at the end, back stitch with your sewing machine, and there you have it. Beautiful regulated gathering.